with the public hearing. So good evening, everybody. We'll start our public hearing and I'll call the meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I have none.
Thank you. So a motion that the agenda for the statutory public meeting of June 15th, 2022 be approved as presented, moved by Councillor Fenelon, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Declarations of pecuniary interest.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I have none.
Thank you. Applications. 4.1 road allowance closure and sale, Hopko and Goriak. Applicant Dory Hopko and Kevin Goriak. Introduction and overview. This public hearing convened under the Ontario Municipal Act 2001 to close part of a road allowance at the location described below pursuant to sections 8 and 9 of the Municipal Act 2001 to authorize the sale of the lands to the owners of the abutting lands. The subject lands are legally known as Plan Reserve Drayton Range 5 PT Lot 1 RP 23 R8433 Part 7 8 15 to 18 parcel 39543. The planning coordinator will confirm how notice was served to advertise this public hearing.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, notice was advertised at the local newspaper by mail to neighboring properties and signs posted on site.
Thank you. The planning coordinator will provide a summary of the application.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, a request to purchase a portion of the unopened road allowance adjacent to 3 Loon Lake Road has been submitted by Ms. Hopko and Mr. Goriak, the property owners. The reason for doing so is to legalize an accessory building that encroaches into the unopened road allowance. The intent is to purchase enough of the unopened road allowance to rectify the situation and have the accessory building be located entirely on their property.
The planning coordinator will read any correspondence received from government agencies and municipal staff.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, we received comments from the Public Works Department, Jeff Hawley. Matt and I did discuss this and we have no objection. That said, any agreement should likely cite a reference that the requested easement / traded land cannot create or cause interference with or fetter the access to the remainder of the lane or its function as a skidoo trail or for other such public access.
Thank you. The planning coordinator will read any correspondence from members of the public.
Through Mayor Lawrence, we reached out to the Ojibwe Power Toboggan Association, who does have a snowmobile trail utilizing that road allowance. So hi, Kristen. It's from Dean Osmond. Oh no, that's his job. Sorry, he's with the OPTA. Thanks for reaching out to the OPTA. As long as the snowmobile trail is not impeded, this should not have an impact to the club. When looking at the drawing, it does appear to encroach somewhat on the trail, leaving little room for two-way traffic, but this may not be the case. The trail is one of the main accesses to Abram Lake. From the club's perspective, we would just want to ensure we continue to have access to this part of our trail system. Is it possible to have the parcel of land not encroach in the road allowance? If this is not possible, can something be written into the purchase that the club trail would have access to this road allowance?
Thank you. The applicant sorry, you have more? Yep.
Yeah, sorry. So I did speak with a local property owner. We were emailing back and forth and we had a call this afternoon and he did not necessarily want to provide a formal response, but it does warrant that we talk about it, I guess. So I did speak with the neighboring property owner requesting clarification where the severance would be measured from. They want to confirm that only the property needed to bring the accessory building into compliance with the zoning bylaw will be taken from the unopened road allowance. The intent is to direct, so our intent as a municipality, if successful, if council approves, is to direct the surveyor to have the new property line measured 1.5 meters from the corner of the accessory building, which is our current setback for accessory buildings, to help minimize the impact of the unopened road allowance, Based on the current property survey, This will leave approximately 14.75 meters of available unopened road allowance, so approximately 50 feet for snowmobile trail as well as public access.
Thanks. And the applicant or representative is invited to speak to the application. Dory.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have no intent whatsoever to block the snowmobile club. We are sledders or have been sledders in the past. And myself personally, we have purchased signs on the back half of the property to indicate that there is a hidden intersection. And I did that at my own cost. In fact, I bought two signs, one coming from the north and one coming from the south. So to me, that's not an issue. The main concern is that we have our accessory building put on our property. So in the event we ever sold, then everything is in compliance. And we've been paying property taxes on half of Abram Lake Road on those sections that we just would like to put our property in where it should be.
Thank you, Dory. Members of council, questions? Councillor Howie.
No questions for me. I think this is a great thing. Let's just shore it up. That's all. I think it's just
Thank
a
you.
fun.
Councillor Bath. You're on mute, Councillor Bath.
Yeah, no questions from me.
Thank you. Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, just a question about the snowmobile, the concern. Will the snowmobiles be on any of your property at all? And I understand, you have no concern with the snowmobilers going by there as long as you're there. But if you were to sell the property, would there be any issue? I guess that's.
You're on mute.
They're be on public land, are they?
But I can respond. Through you, Mayor Lawrence, the snowmobile trail would remain on the unopened road allowance. So off of any private property.
Okay, that's all I wanted clarification on. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lego.
No, this is good. I'm glad they're getting it all rectified. So
Thank you. Councillor Fanlon.
Yeah, yeah, no, I no comments on it. It's good to see that it's going to work out without too much political people getting involved on it. Okay, that's good.
Thank you. Councillor Cassidy.
No concerns here. Seems pretty straightforward. I'm good.
Thank you. My question is probably to the Development Services Manager. Does any of the neighbors' comments impact your recommendation at all?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, no, that was the original intent, was to maintain, just to limit it to that 1.5 meters, meet the setback requirements in the bylaw and gives them space to, if they ever want to work on the building, they don't have to worry about encroaching into adjacent property.
Very good, thanks. We'll move to questions from members of the public. Are invited to speak to the application. The public can ask questions of clarification or seek background information, speak in support of the application, or speak in opposition to the application. All questions will be directed through the chair. It is requested that only one question be asked at a time. Please identify yourself before you ask your question so that you can be properly recorded in the minutes of the hearing. Are there any members of the public present who wish to speak?
To you, Mayor Lawrence, there are no members of the public present or have requested to speak this evening.
That's what I thought, but you've always insisted I read that no matter what. Thank you. Okay. Conclusion and right of appeal process. This is a public hearing convened under the Ontario Municipal Act 2001 to authorize to close part of a road allowance at the location described below pursuant to section 8 and 9 of the Municipal Act 2001 to authorize the sale of the lands to the owners of the abutting lands. The subject lands are legally known as Plan Reserve, Drayton Range 5, Part Lot 1 RP 23R 8433, Part 7, 8, 15 to 18, parcel 39,543. There is no appeal process. Recommended motion for the public hearing that council receives report number 2022-52, respecting the road allowance closure and sale application for the portion of road allowance adjacent to Dory Hopco and Kevin Goriak's property at 3 Loon Lake Road, Sulacote. So I will have a mover for that motion. Councillor Fanlon, seconded by Councillor Lego. All in favor? Carried. And we have a recommended motion for the regular council meeting. Am I to read that now, clerk?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, no, we will add that to the council
Okay.
agenda.
Thank you. So remember when we'll amend the agenda of the council meeting tonight to do that. Confirmatory bylaw number 40-22, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Sulacote, June 15th, 2022, public hearing. We read a first, second, and third time and passed. Moved by Councillor Fanlon, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. All in favor? Carried. So Dory, that will be added to the agenda at the regular meeting tonight and passed, and but no reason why it wouldn't be, and you're done.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we will now adjourn the public hearing and move on to our regular council meeting at 5:41. So I'll call the regular council meeting of June 15th to order at 5:41 p.m. And just as we start the meeting, just a few remarks I'd like to make in terms of the flooding that we've been experiencing. The range of experience ranges from disastrous to minor inconvenience, I suppose. It's been a disaster for so many in our community. Households have had to evacuate, perhaps as many as 30. Lake Shore, South Shore, Pelto, Tower Hill, Sun and Sand, Ethel, and others living lakeside, First Avenue, the Sunset Inn and Suites. There's been impacts to commercial properties and impacts to the municipal infrastructure, including roads, pedestrian sidewalks, and bridges, or pedestrian bridge, sewage lift stations, the boat launches, buried infrastructure, and at the airport. The airport manager was describing how the high water that has remained close to the, I guess, the south end has many more ducks and geese have been there, and that's a flight hazard that is always checked, and so they've been having to do more measures to mitigate against the ducks and geese because of the water. The municipality has reacted to support residents as best we can, acquiring sandbags from MNRF, acquiring sand from a local supplier and making it available to residents, filling sandbags while we can, and delivering when we can. But a lot of residents have been doing their own work. And the municipality has also been protecting our own infrastructure and engaging contracted services to help build up roads and maintain access for people. We declared a state of emergency several weeks ago and advocated again and again and again to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing to have Sulacote declared a flood area. We think is partly because of the election period that took a bit longer than we wanted, but at the same time, it was declared along with several other areas in Northwestern Ontario late last week, which has allowed, that declaration allows individuals and businesses and small businesses in Sulacote to apply for the Disaster Recovery Assistance for Ontarians program. And the municipality can apply through a separate stream if we spend over a certain limit, which we are tracking closely. The Emergency Management Control Group started meeting back, I think, May 16th, and we been meeting on a regular and irregular basis. We had a meeting early this week with, if I get it right, EMO, Emergency Measures Ontario, used to be, I'm not sure, is it still the same? Yeah.
Emergency Management Ontario.
Emergency Management Ontario had requested a meeting with us, and two representatives came to meet with us. We were able to express our frustration and how long it took to declare the flood area, but they were very, very understanding and took copious notes. We also talked about predictive tools for the next time, which we all think is We don't know when it'll happen, but they're working on that. Much of Ontario is covered by conservation authorities, and they're the authorities that monitor waters. In our area, the Lake of the Woods Control Board monitors the controlled waters around the Lake of the Woods. But we don't have really same type of authorities here. So we're looking at trying to establish some predictive tools and made a few suggestions to them, and they're going to come back and talk to us more about that. I think it's important to recognize that to take a few minutes to acknowledge the efforts of so many that have assisted in one way or another in response to the flooding so far. The Municipal Emergency Control Group for their coordination and follow-up activities in response to the situation, the municipal staff for their excellent work and extra efforts to mitigate flooding damage to properties and protect our vital infrastructure, the MNRF for deploying staff to assist with filling sandbags, as well as the timely response to providing sandbags to the municipality when requested, the school boards, teachers, and students who pitched in to fill sandbags, to all the citizens of Sioux Lookout who helped their families, neighbors, and friends, to KDSB for their assistance in finding accommodations for some displaced residents as a result of the flooding, to MTO for their collaboration and willingness to work with the municipality to get the bypass opened for heavy commercial traffic, to Emergency Management Ontario and the Provincial Emergency Operations Centre for their guidance and support to carry our messaging through the proper channels, to MMAH staff who worked on recommending that Sioux Lookout be declared a flood zone in order to activate the Disaster Recovery Assistance for Ontarians program, to contracted services who acted very quickly to assist the municipality mitigate damages, in addition to many others of whom we may not have mentioned. Thank you for helping each and every one of us. It takes a village to get through difficult times, and it is through coordinated efforts of many, not a few, that we are able to overcome obstacles. The work is not over yet, as the community anxiously waits for the waters to recede to continue with the recovery, restoration, and cleanup from this disaster. Once again, thank you all for your efforts. We have two other things I'd like to deal with before we move into the formal meeting, and that's acknowledgement of some awards. Each year, the Association of Municipal Managers, Clerks, and Treasurers of Ontario recognizes the efforts of those who have made a significant contribution at local levels towards the success of their respective zones or to the advancement of the municipal profession. Zone 9 of AMCTO covers all of Northwestern Ontario, including the Thunder Bay District, the Rainy River District, and the Kenora District. This year, AMCTO Zone 9 Executive nominated our Brian McKinnon to the Board of Directors of the Provincial Association of Municipal Clerks Treasurers of Ontario, and the board honored him with the Distinguished Award. On behalf of Mayor and Council, we would like to extend our congratulations to Brian. Congratulations, Brian. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor Lawrence. It was a very unexpected honor and very much appreciated.
Very good. No, we appreciate your work and are happy for you. Another award, the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police, OACP, has awarded the OACP 2022 Award of Excellence in Community Safety, Wellness, and Crime Prevention to Provincial Constable Andrea DeGagne with the Ontario Police Detachment in our community. This award is presented in recognition of the accomplishments of an officer and their community partners working together to improve community safety and well-being. As the Community Services Officer in the Sioux Lookout Detachment, Constable DeGagne advocates tirelessly and courageously for some of the most vulnerable community members to get equitable and appropriate treatment, and has had a significant positive impact on her community, Sioux Lookout. Congratulations, Andrea, and thank you very much for all your efforts. Having said all that, are there any amendments to the agenda?
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, we do have, if council so wishes, two amendments to the agenda. The first would be to add item number 7.8, road allowance closure and sale. That's respecting the property on 3 Loon Lake Road. And also associated with that, recommendation would be under section 10, bylaws. Council may wish to add bylaw number 37-22, being a bylaw to permanently close, declare surplus, and authorize the sale of highway of the municipality. And again, that's respecting the property at 3 Loon Lake Road.
Thank you. That's it for amendments.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Lawrence, it is.
So a motion that the agenda for the regular council meeting of June 15th, 2022 be approved as amended. Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Timpson. All in favor? Carried. Declarations of pecuniary interest.
Through you, Mayor Lawrence, I have none.
Thank you. And motion to adopt the minutes of the following meetings. April 20th, 2022 public hearing meetings, April 20th, 2022 statutory public meeting minutes, April 20, 2022 regular council meeting minutes, May 18, 2022 regular council meeting minutes. Be approved as presented. Moved by Councillor Bath, seconded by Councillor Fenlon. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. And a motion to receive the minutes of the following municipal boards, commissions, and committees. October 20th, 2021 Police Services Board meeting, November 25th, 2021 Police Services Board and Manayelwin Health Center meeting, December 9th, 2021 Police Services Board and LCBO meeting, January 13th, 2022 Police Services Board and Manayelwin Health Center meeting with Ontario Health, January 17th, 2022 Police Services Board and LCBO meeting, January 26, 2022 Police Services Board and LCBO meeting, February 22, 2022 Police Services Board and LCBO meeting, April 5th, 2022 Police Services Board and LCBO meeting. That those meeting minutes be received. Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Lego. Discussion. Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, I noticed that the calls for services are down on Sundays. Do we know whether the overall calls for service for the weeks are down, or, you know, are people stocking up on Saturday or that sort of thing? Then are we having higher calls on Saturday? Is there some way we can get that data?
Yeah, I think we're going to CAO. We're going to have a report prepared to bring to council in the coming weeks, months. The CAO.
Yes.
Yeah, coming weeks, months. Okay. That fair enough, Councillor? There will be.
Yeah. I think that's key. It's nice that Sunday's a day of rest, but whether overall it's going to make a difference, I think that'll be important to know.
I can tell you, I saw some preliminary statistics, and it's Sundays and Mondays that have been closed and will be closed for the foreseeable future, not only because of our request, but because of staffing issues, as is posted at the LCBO on their door. The calls for service, I think, we're down Sunday, Monday by in the range of 40%, both Sunday and Monday. Significant. CAO.
And in conjunction with that, the stats for EMS and emergency room visits were down as well.
So it's had a very significant impact. But there'll be a fulsome report coming to council about that and associated issues, and I think in the next month or so. I think the CAO indicated to me targeting the July council meeting.
Correct.
Anything further? And all in favor of receiving those minutes? Carried. And a motion to receive the minutes from outside agencies and boards, December 15th, 2021, Kenora Home for the Aged meeting, January 27, 2022, Kenora Home for the Aged meeting, March 3rd, 2022, Kenora Home for the Aged, March 25th, 2022, Northwestern Health Unit meeting, April 22, 2022, Northwestern Health Unit meeting, and April 26, 2022, Northwestern Health Unit special meeting. That those minutes be received by council. Moved by Councillor Timpson, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. And determination of items requiring separate discussion. We'll go to section 7.1, parking lot modifications and taxiway alpha remediation contract award. Seven point 2, land transfer 3 Loon Lake Road. 7.3, Sturgeon River Boat Launch Road. Councillor Timpson. 7.4, Bell Next Generation NG 911 Service Agreement. 7.5, MDRA and DREO programs, Municipal Disaster Relief Assistance and Disaster Relief Assistance for Ontarians programs. And this is essentially a motion to that is required to help get the activation of those programs going. 7.6, extend 2-hour parking on Front Street between 6th and 7th Avenues. 7.7, review of COVID policies. Councillor Timpson. And 7.8, road allowance closure, the item that was discussed in the public hearing today. So items that are being lifted are 7.3 and 7.7. Very good. And motion to adopt the items not requiring separate discussion. Item 7.1, 7.2, 7.4, 7.5, 7.6, and 7.8. Moved by Councillor Howie, seconded by Councillor Lego. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And we'll go to 7, I think we'll go to 7.3. Sturgeon River Road boat launch. The council directs staff to develop and negotiate an agreement between the Corporation of the Municipality of Sioux and JAMB Developments Incorporated regarding equal cost sharing of the reconstruction of Sturgeon River Boat Launch Road, whereby the municipality shall reconstruct the road, including contracting for surface treatment, and all costs shall be divided equally between JAMB Developments Incorporated and the municipality. And further, the council directs to bring the agreement back with a bylaw for execution. Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Fenelon. And I'll start the discussion with Councillor Timpson.
It's just a question of clarification. In the report, it says the estimated project cost is $197,000. And then in the attachment, it says $242,000. What's the discrepancy there? Is it GST? Or
the 242,000 was a Class D estimate done by the former manager of Public Works and Infrastructure. So that was done in 2021 and was essentially an estimate on what this work would cost. We've since revised those numbers based on what our granular material would cost us and staff time and equipment time.
Oh, okay. So thanks. I didn't catch that. But any particular reason why it's less? Is there? I mean, I would think that parts and labor are going to be more now when that was done.
For sure, you would expect that, but a Class D estimate is a fairly coarse estimate, and what we've done now is certainly more refined. So I just think we're using probably a little more accurate numbers for calculations.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Thank you. I'll just ask you to put your hand up if a councillor has any questions. Any councillors with further questions on this? Councillor Cassidy.
I'm sure it's been considered. I just wanted to make sure this won't impede access to the boat launch. You guys the work will be done in a way that allow people to access the boat launch and traffic will still be able to flow through there, right?
Yeah, that'll be the intent, is that we'll be able to maintain traffic to the boat launch. There may be brief periods during construction where people are going to have to wait and things like that. But on the whole, no, we'll make sure we're not blocking it off completely or anything like that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other councillors with a question or comment? I see none. So I will call the vote. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 7.7, review of COVID policies. You had to lift this one, which is 3 miles long. Do I need to read out each and every policy, clerk?
I will defer to council's desire. I think they're fairly clearly stated, but if council wishes the resolution to be, the motion to be read in full, that would be council's determination.
I will start it and then ask council. The council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 43-22, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 54-20, establish a health and safety policy manual for the corporation of the municipality of Sioux, and to adopt certain health and safety policies as amended by deleting the following policies. And there's a list of 12 or so. You can all see them. Good. And that council acknowledges that the mayor shall rescind the declaration of an emergency originally declared on March 30th, 2020, in recognition that the COVID-19 emergency declaration is no longer required. The council acknowledges that upon the rescindment of COVID-19 emergency declaration, the council meetings will return to the in-person format and will be held in council chambers effective July 1st, 2022. That council directs staff to have the municipal office adjust its hours of service and to be open to the public from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday to Friday. Moved by Councillor Bath, seconded by Councillor Fenelon, and discussion starting with Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, I honestly think that we're premature in trying to rescind these, and there's several reasons for that. For one thing, the professionals were hesitant about the public health restrictions being lifted, even though I noticed that our own public health is suggesting this change. And they are warning that there could be another surge in the fall. I hope not, but they're warning of that. The second thing is that we're very close to the northern communities where there are current surges. There's 280 cases, was the last report that I saw in the north. And the northern communities are still exercising extreme precautions. And, if when you're walking around town, you'll see it that the people from the north are wearing masks. I believe strongly we should remain in sync with what the northern communities are doing because of the high level of travel back and forth and the very high risk of transmission of this Omicron thing. I think we could suspend some of them, but I don't think we should be rescinding just yet. Policies such as masks in the office, encouraging distancing, hand sanitation. I think there's another one, breathing, coughing etiquette or something it was. These are good policies to have at any time. And COVID-19 isn't the only contagious illness out there. There's E. coli and there's influenza and now monkeypox, whatever. So we just don't know how COVID-19 is going to play out in the next 6 months, and hopefully not. We could be in an emergency again. I agree, we can declare the emergency over. But I think it'd be much easier in the fall if we're faced with this again, that just to bring them I don't know what the actual word is, but reactivate, reintroduce the policies. The other thing about in-person meetings, if open to the public, I noticed that our council room has been reduced significantly by creating an office at the East End. So we potentially could have a very crowded council chambers there. So I think we need to rethink this. I support suspending some of the policies, but and keeping a few, but I really don't support rescinding them at this time. I think we're much too pervert, and I think we can continue to live with it if we continue with certain precautions. We don't have to be extreme, but we still have to be cautious. So that's my feeling about it.
Thank you. I will go around the table. Councillor Howie.
I do support much of the language that Councillor Timpson used. I think we might be a little too premature on this. Like she said, we're not yet in the stage where vaccines, for example, if you so desire to use vaccines, are free or accessible, sorry, to those under the age of 5. Soon we will be. I think once it's a blanketed approach to our population and it's accessible, and maybe we trend in a little more of a trajectory as a region, like Councillor Timpson said, remote communities, remote First Nations don't necessarily have the equitable access to care that we do in a larger center and other tertiary facilities. So I think we need to walk very much in step with our neighbors in how we approach this pandemic. I think it may be, ignorant as a municipality to move in the direction of, advancing beyond, because we tout ourselves as the hub of the North. And if we act in, ignorance to our neighbors and say, well, we're going to govern ourselves by a different set of rules and not protect those that may be visiting for the many needed services, I think it's not fair, and I don't think it's wise. But that's just my opinion. So,
Thank you. Councillor Bath.
Yeah, I kind of agree with the Councillor Timpson and Councillor Howie. I think it's too soon to rescind. I don't disagree with maybe suspending them somewhat and taking it a little bit easier, but I believe it's too soon to rescind. I've had personal dealings with people who have gone into crowds of people, and probably 50% of them have come back with COVID. So, it's still there. Most of us are pretty careful, but that doesn't mean everybody is. So I'm okay to suspend it, but I don't think we should rescind yet.
Just for my clarification, overall, the difference between suspend and rescind, is there CIO? Could you explain that?
I'm not sure. I'd like to ask Councillor Bath to clarify what he means by suspend or rescind. To me, it means keep them in place, both all the policies.
Be clear then, or you should keep them in place.
Pardon me?
Be clear then, I would say we should keep them in place.
Thank you. Councillor Lego.
I will not be voting to keep them in place. Everyone knows my opinion on this, so that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you. Councillor Fenlon.
I've been thinking about it, and I was waiting for this to come up and see how it's going to phase out. I think we should be waiting. The school's going to be out here in about 7 or 8 days, and people will be traveling more and more through wherever they're going to go. And I would like to see if we could leave it till the end of August into September, just to see how the fallout comes out for the rest of the summer.
Thank you. Councillor Cassidy.
In favor to rescind. Every other organization, business, every place you go in Sioux Lookout, there's no mask mandate, there's no COVID protocols. Things have, from what I can tell, seem to have returned to normal, for the exception of the municipal buildings and hospitals, where there's obviously precautions in hospitals because of the circumstances. I don't understand. I don't understand the hesitation. I think everyone else has rescinded or pulled back. It's not like we're deleting these policies off the server and we'd have to start from scratch if we wanted to bring them back. They're there. If things come back and things turn the corner again and we're into a different situation, we have them there, we can pull them out and we can deal with it. I think we need to return to some normalcy in our offices. I think it's up to the individual on whether or not they want to take the precautions they want to. And I believe there's no scrutiny against anyone that wears a mask or wants to take those precautions. So I vote to rescind these and leave the precautions up to the individual. We've had over 2 years of this. They know what precautions they want to take and what it would take to make them feel comfortable. And I don't think there's any judgment that will be passed on them by myself or any other peers in the community. So I think rescind and let's get on with things.
Thank you. I think I've been quite cautious, although in recent month or so, I know I've relaxed that quite a bit, and I've been listening to public health, and I think it's time to rescind. And as Councillor Cassidy said, we know exactly what we need to do if the situation changes. We can reconsider, and here's the block of things that we can reconsider to bring back. So I'm ready to move on, but I've been doing the vote count here, and I don't think we will be. Does anybody have anything further to say?
Well,
Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, I think one of the points was that some of the more extreme policies, like vaccination mandates and so on, I don't think we need that now, but I think we do need masking and distancing and hygiene and warnings and precautions like that in place. I really do. And when I talk about suspend, I don't know if that's the right word in municipal law language, but I guess I don't know what the word is, but sort of put it on hold, but not delete them. Just keep them there, but for when we need them. And I don't know what the word for that is. So if there is even a word.
Is the CIO or clerk chomping at the bit with a word, or clerk?
I'll defer to the CIO.
Okay. The motion before council this evening is to rescind all the policies. So council has the option of, when you say suspend, Councillor Timpson, I think what you mean is just leave it status quo and turn down the recommendation to rescind the policies at this time, or make amendments to the recommendation to keep certain policies. I think that's what you're referring to. So we wouldn't suspend it because there's nothing to suspend. They're all in place right now. I think what you're talking about is deferring a decision possibly till the fall.
Yeah, well, I would be happy with that. I would say though that some of the more extreme measures, we could relax on them. I really do think so. But some of the others, I don't think we should relax on.
Staff, clerk, yeah.
Female ones, just to support what the CAO has said. Our policies, because they're adopted by council by bylaw, you can kind of think of them as binary code, or 0-1. It's either on or it's off. So if there are specific policies that council wishes to rescind, I know the vaccination one was one that was mentioned a couple of times. Then to build on what the CAO said, any policies that council wants to remain in place would just be deleted from this list, and the others would be rescinded. Also, just to build on what some of the other members of council had mentioned, is that it would be very straightforward for council to readopt these policies at any point in the future, should they be required. And if time was of an urgent consideration, a special meeting could be called to adopt them very quickly. So just a bit of clarification and comment on on the other discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk. Council, anybody else want to chime in? So I don't see any hands. The options are, I think are call the vote and see where it goes. Or that if are we going to pick away at the policies and say, take this off the list, take this off the list? Or do we say, staff, you've heard what council has said, I'll call the vote, and you can bring back certain policies in July if you feel those are the ones that. Councillor Fennell. You're on mute, Councillor Fennell. You're good.
When looking at it, I think certainly we can take some of the things out and some of them left. The COVID vaccination policy should stay in place. I don't know how we could work that out in the system. Number 8 and 9, donning and doffing non-medical gloves procedures. It's hard to tell, but if some things do start coming, I'm sure that they're going to be medical people will be saying that we should put in the vaccination policies if we get 2 or 3 more not diseases, but things out there that we have to take precautionary measures to act it on. That's all I can say, I guess.
Thank you. Councillor Cassidy.
So if the point of these policies is to protect the municipal staff's health, hygiene, and any members of the public they interact with, how is keeping these policies in place going to do that when they can go to any other business or any other location in town and walk around without any of these, adhering to any of these policies outside of their workplace? It doesn't make sense. We are the kind of the last man standing here with this kind of stuff. And we got to look at what the benefit is here. Are we doing it just because we don't want to make a change? And we're just too worried about making a change and the risk here. It's everyone else has dropped these mandates months ago, yet we're still holding on to the bag here. So I guess the question is can someone explain to me that wants to keep these, how keeping these is going to protect our staff and our employees and members of the public that walk into municipal facilities when they can go to any other business, any other location in town and interact without following any policies similar to these?
Thank you. Does anybody wish to respond to Councillor Cassidy? Councillor Timpson.
I don't know, it's sort of like saying, why should I keep to the speed limit when everybody else is going really, really fast? It's not going to protect me. I think it's a strong statement on the side on our part, and it's also in sync with what's happening in the north. And the cases are still surging in the north, and there's still traveling between the north and here. And that's basically how I feel it. Just because other people don't want to do it doesn't mean that we have to follow everybody else. And I think it's important that that we take a stand, and we are a public building. We're not a private building. We're open to the public. People from the north, people from Sioux Lookout come there. So it's about protecting everybody.
Councillor Lego.
Has the Ontario government removed all of these from all of other provincial buildings, like all these policies that they had? Because I know that when we brought them in, we were under the impression that we're doing this because the provincial government is telling us these are the policies that we need to follow. So if they're not following these policies anymore, why are we following these policies? That's the impression I got when it was passed.
Through you, thank you. Through you, Mayor Lawrence, when the pandemic started and we went into a lockdown, of course, there were legislated requirements that everybody had to follow that the province put in place when they declared the state of emergency with reference to the pandemic. So there were certain things that we had to put in place. Throughout the process, things changed. We followed the legislative requirements, and also what we, as staff, what we always said to council was that we're following the legislative requirements that are imposed upon us by legislation from the province, and also following the guidelines from the health unit, because at certain times the health unit also had jurisdiction to make certain legislative decisions with reference to their area of jurisdiction. So we followed those to a T, and also we also followed their recommendations or their guidelines. So even though it wasn't necessarily in legislation anymore, there was a change to the legislation with reference to, so for example, opening up our public facilities like recreation facilities. We also followed the guidelines of the health unit, because what happened in the South, usually with the numbers and the statistics, usually we were 3 to 4 weeks behind them. So those were the recommendations. So we followed them. So recently we've done, as staff, we've been thinking a lot about this. We're having a harder time having the public, as Councillor Cassidy pointed out, people don't bring masks anymore because they don't know where they're going, where they have to wear them, where they don't have to wear them. So staff are also having a hard time enforcing it with the public. I see a number of people coming in with the public without a mask and following the policies where we have to remind them. And sometimes we get obviously negative feedback from the public, but that's not an obvious reason to lift our policies because of that. But having said that, we did reach out to the health unit, ask them what they thought at this point if we were to rescind our policies, and they said that things have, it hasn't gone away yet, but they said that it would be up to us if we wanted to maintain certain policies, but that they thought it was time that it would be up to us whether or not, so they weren't recommending not to keep them. They were saying it was up to us.
Any further comments, Council? I could call the vote and decide the matter with, and if it passes, it passes. If it doesn't, then staff could consider perhaps coming back if there are certain policies that you think that in a month's time that could be rescinded. If it doesn't pass, I don't think there's any point in bringing the whole shebang back next month. But you might be able to choose certain policies that we could rescind. It's Clerk.
Through Mayor Lawrence, just monitoring the tone of the conversation. I might suggest for Council's consideration that the motion be split into separate sections because the focus of the conversation so far has been on the rescindment of the policies. However, there's still other parts of the motion that perhaps the majority of council would support. So that would be another option for council if you so desire.
Very good. Do the policies as a block and then do the, so we have the state of an emergency, that could be a separate one. The rescindment of the, so council meetings returning to in-person could be a separate one.
Mm-hmm.
And the council to have municipal office adjusted salaries is a separate one. So I could do it in 4 separate pieces with the policies being one block. All right, I'll let you take notes as I and how to guide me through the. We've already had the whole motion on the table for the whole report.
Yes. So for you,
I will step back from that.
Amenable to the mover, which was Councillor Bath, if he is amenable to saying, yeah, I'm okay to sort of break this up and deal with it in 4 separate sections, then we'll be able to proceed.
Councillor Bath?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I think that's probably the only way it's really going to be to move forward. Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Very good. Thanks, Clerk, for the suggestion. Thanks, Councillor Bath. So go ahead with the motion for the, do you think we can do the policies first? So go ahead with the motion, Clerk.
Through Mayor Lawrence, so the movers and seconders are Councillor Bath and Councillor Fenelon. This motion would then read that council authorizes the passing of bylaw number 43-22, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 54-20, being a bylaw to establish a health and safety policy manual for the corporation under the municipality of Sioux, and to adopt and to adopt certain health and safety policies as amended by deleting the following policies. And then there is the list of policies.
And so we have a mover and a seconder. I can put that to the vote.
Yes.
So the vote, the motion is to rescind those policies. So if you vote in the affirmative, all these policies will be rescinded. All in favor? All opposed? Sorry, opposed? Defeated. Defeated, correct? Yes, defeated. The policies remain. The council, so the next motion, Clerk, go ahead.
To Mayor Lawrence, the next motion would read that council acknowledges that the mayor shall rescind the declaration of an emergency originally declared on March 30th, 2020, in recognition that that the COVID-19 emergency declaration is no longer required.
So the affirmative vote will be to rescind the declaration of the emergency related to COVID, not related to flooding. So an affirmative vote will rescind the emergency declaration for COVID. All in favor of rescinding?
Sorry, Mayor Lawrence, if we could also get a mover and a seconder for that one.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay. A mover for that motion, Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Timpson. And again, when I ask all in favor, that will mean the rescindment of the state of emergency. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, carried. 5, carried. Thank you. Next motion.
To you, Mayor Lawrence, we will be looking for a mover and seconder for the following motion. That council acknowledges that upon the rescindment of the COVID-19 emergency declaration, that council meetings will return to the in-person format and will be held in council chambers effective July 1st, 2022.
Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Lego. And some discussion here, is that, or are we voting?
Yeah.
I haven't called the vote. So
Discussion.
some discussion. Yep, discussion. Councillor Cassidy.
Yeah, so I guess my question on this one now is, if we've left the policies in place, how are we going to return to in-person meetings? The whole reason to Zoom meetings was because of the COVID policies we put in place, and I don't know. I'm fine to go back, but I don't know if we can because the policies are still there.
Clerk or CAO, could you comment on that?
To you, Mayor Lawrence, I believe the particular policy of concern would be, or of particular concern would be the vaccination policy, in that if there are any members of council who are unvaccinated, they would then be required to follow the policy with respect to providing negative tests every 72 hours and so on and so forth. So I believe that's the matter of concern, but I do see that the CAO is also wanting to speak, so I'll defer to her.
Thank you, CAO.
Just to add to that, to the policies also, one policy in particular, physical distancing policy, it would be hard to achieve that if we went to in-person meetings if that policy was not rescinded. So that's something else council has to take into consideration if it's not rescinded.
So before I think Councillor Timpson and Councillor Howie had questions. I'm just wondering about just removing this from consideration right now. It seems fraught with I'll go to Councillor Timpson first.
Yeah, I have no problems with in-person for council. The issue is the public, when, and particularly since we've reduced the size of the council chambers. Can we have a hybrid? Can we have in-person council meetings, but that are available by Zoom, or that the people can observe?
Is that a question? You have to ask clerk.
Yeah, I mean, there are ways of doing it. I have no problems with in-person meetings, and we would be distanced, I would think, but we aren't going to be able to have the public attend unless we get a larger venue.
Through Mayor Lawrence, yeah, so council meetings were live streamed for, I know it's been a while, but before we moved to the Zoom platform, council meetings had been live streamed for quite some time from within council chambers, so that would continue as it has in the past.
And public would be excluded or could be excluded from live in person?
That would require additional review and consideration. There have been discussions, and there are some municipalities who have implemented hybrid meetings. However, the other requirements that we have put in place because of COVID would need to remain in place, that if council isn't comfortable having the public in chambers, then we would have to continue with the process that we have now, whereby people call and request to be part of the meeting in some way, shape, or form. That would be much more challenging if the whole platform wasn't on Zoom, because then you would be trying to bring people into the chambers via Zoom. That would be technically cumbersome to manage. Additionally, yes, the other option, as Councillor Timpson pointed out, would be to find a new venue for council meetings, a larger venue that would accommodate physical distancing.
Well, all of this discussion has decided in my mind that I would say if we're not rescinding the policies, then let's keep doing what we've been doing. Keep it simple for the sake of a few months, if that's what it is. I know Councillor Howie had his hand up, and then I'll go to Councillor Lego.
I'll defer to Councillor Lego. He was waving his hand long before I.
So, oh, I thought you were waving your hand. It just doesn't show as big, but Councillor Lego.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mayor Lawrence. Until all those other policies are removed, there's no reason to be in person. I would just prefer that we defer this until we go at these policies again to get rid of them. So.
Clerk. Councillor Clerk. No, just clerk.
To you, Mayor Lawrence. Also, just a reminder to members of council that with the rescindment of the emergency order, the ability to hold council meetings via Zoom becomes much more challenging. There are different steps that have to be followed and so on. So staff will work through that and advise of any procedural matters that need to be addressed or motions passed to be able to continue to meet virtually without a declared emergency.
We're just creating a mess here.
Yeah. Councillor Cassidy.
Is there any more COVID funding available for all the staff time that we're going to need to sort this out?
I beg your pardon. So I didn't.
I said, is there any more COVID funding available for all the staff time we're going to need to set aside to sort all this out?
Councillor Howie, did you have a?
Yeah, I was just going to say I was an advocate when we did the bylaws for virtual meetings. That was turned down. I think simply amending that bylaw to allow virtual meetings outside of a declared state of emergency would make this feasible. Additionally, I believe that Microsoft Teams is free to use and can be streamed on Facebook as well with ease, as was reported to me by someone very familiar with IT when the discussion of the expense of Zoom came up, not the most recent budget meetings, but the ones before that. So I think there are some pretty easy fixes to this, to continuing this without having to get as much playtime as we are right now with the mess that's being made by not rescinding these bylaws.
Well, as always said, getting into the COVID shutdown would be easier than coming out of it. It's pretty ticky-tacky. Councillor Lego.
Yeah, can we rescind the rescinding of the declaration? And then move on from this? We're going around in circles here.
Mayor Lawrence, yes, council does have the ability to reconsider a motion previously considered at the same meeting. So if there is a desire to keep the emergency declaration in place to essentially keep everything the same, other than the last motion, which is still on the floor. If we want to keep everything the same, then yes, we can go back and reconsider at this meeting the rescindment of the emergency order.
Good. I was going to, thanks, Councillor Lego. My current status is let's rescind it, go back and have a vote on the first 3 blocks that we've already voted on, aye or nay, and then do the, I think the office hours could be completely separate. Is there anything that's ticky-tacky about that, Clerk CAO?
No.
No, okay. Councillor Fanlon. You're on mute now, Councillor Fanlon. Councillor Fanlon, you're on mute. There you go.
I'm gonna change my vote, not that I want to, but we're creating a big a mess for staff to figure out and work it out and move on, get moving on, I guess. And so I'll change my vote.
Well, you can't quite change your vote, but we can go back and can we, Clerk, what do you think, Council? And I would have to ask the mover. Put the first 3 blocks on as one vote, and then do the office hours as a separate one.
Mayor Lawrence, I think that is certainly permissible. Yes. So
I'm just going to ask you to give me the procedure to do that. Carry on.
Sure. So we just need a motion that council moves to reconsider decisions respecting motions associated with item 7.7. So we just need a mover and seconder for that motion.
Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Lego. And do you need to vote on that?
Can you tell us what we're voting on? I'm confused.
We're voting on essentially just putting the structures in place to start item 7.7 all over again. And when we start all over again, we're going to include all the policies, the state of the declaration of emergency, and I guess that's really the council meetings as one block, and either vote in favor of it or opposed to it. And that'll sort of clean up all the mess that's surrounded by being in favor of one and not the other.
Okay.
Fair enough?
Yeah.
So with that said, all in favor of starting 7.7 over again, so to speak? Carried. Thank you. Now we'll have a motion that council authorizes passing of bylaw number 4322 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 5420, establish a health and safety policy manual for the corporation of the municipality of Sioux and to adopt certain health and safety policies as amended by deleting the following policies. All 12 or so of them. And the council acknowledges that the mayor shall rescind the declaration of an emergency originally declared on March 30th, 2020, in recognition that COVID-19 emergency declaration is no longer required. And that council acknowledges that upon the rescindment of the COVID-19 emergency declaration, the council meetings will return to the in-person format and will be held in council chambers effective July 1st, 2022. So a motion for that, a mover for that motion. Councillor Lego, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. Now the vote in the affirmative will mean that we are rescinding the policies and that we are ending the state of the declaration of emergency. If you don't vote in the affirmative, then they remain and the status quo remains. So all voting in the affirmative. We have 4. Carried. The council directs staff to have the municipal office adjust its hours of service and to be open to the public from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday to Friday. Moved by Councillor Cassidy, seconded by Councillor Lego. Any discussion? Councillor Lego.
Yeah, in the report, it's saying that having the hours shortened, a lot more work was being able to get done with staff. Is there sort of a midway where we maybe open at 9:30 and instead of being open the full range again, so staff can get to get into work and get the, you know, a lot of the emails taken care of in the morning or a lot of the other things. I just noticed that in the report.
Mayor Lawrence, there was significant excuse me, there was significant discussion amongst the management team as far as workloads go. If you recall a few months back, we had requested that we be able to retain those hours on a permanent basis, and council wanted to revisit it at a later point because there was some opposition to that. In reviewing it, we did want to propose to council that we have the office hours open from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. or 4 p.m. So stretch it out a bit more to allow that time, but we thought the council wouldn't go for that. So we adjusted it for a half hour in the morning and a half hour in the afternoon. One thing to remember too, that if it's open to walk-ins for people to do their business as well, but we've always been open to the public, even though the doors have been locked, because we put a monitoring intercom system outside. If somebody really wanted to come, we would address them, they would come in, or they could call for an appointment and we meet with them as well. So we, I know that it's been faced with some negative impacts. Public are saying that we're not accessible, but I believe that we are accessible. We've always made provisions for people to come and do business with the municipality, and through the pandemic too, we've increased our online presence too, which there's been a lot of uptake with it, and we've had very little negative feedback with reference to it. So if council's, we did the 8:30 to 4:30, thinking that council would approve that, but we would prefer to have more time. So we would, if council's amenable, we would go 10 to 4.
10 to 4. Oh, that's quite. I thought you had actually already sort of gone that slightly middle road by going, instead of 8, it was 8:30, and instead of 4:30, it was 4. So you'd move back half hour.
We've discussed it, and we're okay with 8:30 to 4.
Councilor Lego?
Well, if they're okay with that, that's fine. I would just, in the report, it said that they're more productive when things were a bit quieter. So, which everybody is, right? That's why I go to work on Sundays. So, when I'm closed to get more office work done. So, but if you're okay with that, we'll go back to that.
Staff, do you want an amendment to this? 9 to 4? Is that a?
9 to 4 would be better. We'll take anything. We would be greatly appreciated.
Who's the mover, clerk?
Actually, Mayor Lawrence, Councillor Cassidy.
Councillor Cassidy, would you accept a friendly amendment 9 to 4?
Yes.
Okay, so anything else for that amendment, clerk? That's it. So any further discussion, council? Councillor Timpson.
They will continue to be open over lunchtime, I presume.
We always were. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Anything further, council?
I was going to say, I expect that there will be some people, would like to see it back to 8 o'clock because they can come in before they go to work, and then back to 5 o'clock because then they can come in after work. But I think this is a good compromise.
Clerk.
through Mayor Lawrence, just to clarify, the municipal office had at least in the last 15 years had never been open until 5. It was only open until 4:30. Part of the rationale for the change as well was related to trends that we were seeing in terms of when people were visiting the municipal office, and the request from a number of members of the public to enhance our electronic methods of interaction, because they felt that even 8 to 4:30 didn't work for their work-life schedules. And so as council is aware, we implemented a significant online through our website, the ability to pay bills and those types of things. And we've certainly seen an uptake in the use of that option as well. So there are many options of interacting with the municipality, but it sounds like council is comfortable with a 9 to 4 schedule for public hours.
Good. We do have a mover and a seconder for this. Unless there's further discussion, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. No delegations.
Sorry, Mayor, we do need to do item 7.8.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, we didn't. We didn't lift it.
My apologies.
So we're good. Yeah, thanks. We need to include it in the bylaws, right?
Correct.
No delegations. No. We consider the items requiring separate discussion. Bylaws. Mr. Clerk, please go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Lawrence. The following bylaws are presented to council for 3 readings and passing. Bylaw number 38-22, being a bylaw to establish and acquire certain lands, 3 Loon Lake Road, Goriac, Hopco Goriac. Bylaw number 37-22, being a bylaw to permanently close, declare surplus, and authorize the sale of a highway of the municipality. Once again, that's respecting 3 Loon Lake Road. Bylaw number 44-22, being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute an agreement between the corporation of the municipality of Sioux and 1876118 Ontario Limited, operating as the king of contractors for the completion of the airport parking lot modifications and taxiway alpha remediation project in the amount of $277,555 plus HST. And bylaw number 43-22, being a bylaw to amend bylaw, I apologize. Actually, sorry, I do need to pause. So back to item 7.7, that resolution actually passed the second time it was voted on. There were 4 in favor. So yes, so bylaw number 43-22, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 54-20, to establish a health and safety policy manual for the corporation of the municipality of Sioux and to adopt certain health and safety policies. So that bylaw is now being passed to rescind those policies.
And those bylaws be read a first, second, and third time and passed. Moved by Councillor Fanlon, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. All in favor? Carried. No notice of motion, outside resolutions. So we are into councillor reports. Councillor Label.
I was gonna say we had 2 Cedar Bay ad hoc meetings, but we only had 1. So the other one was moved to the end of the month. So we're working diligently on it.
Very good. Thank you. Councillor Fanlon.
LCC meeting yesterday, which was pretty good. Most of the planning, previous planning has all been put into place, and they're just working on a bit of, I don't know how to put it, but they're just touching it up a little bit. And then move on to the 2024 plan, I think it is. And that's it.
Thank you. Councillor Bath.
Nothing very notable this month. I guess probably a lot of my time has been spent working on the hub transit municipal transfer, and I think that's about most of the time I've spent.
Thank you. Councillor Cassidy.
For myself, Councillor Lego mentioned the Cedar Bay development. The surveys are out now, so which is good to see. So hopefully we get some feedback from the community on what improvements or what initiative they'd like to see out at Cedar Bay to hopefully formulate a revised report. And Environment Committee was canceled, so there was I didn't have that as well. But that's about it for my.
Thank you. Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, I attended the Pelican School graduation and gave a few words on behalf of the municipality, which is a very pleasant event. The library board, we've been busy attempting to filling the CEO position temporarily as the CAO is going on maternity leave. Looking hopeful, and we're currently seeking accommodation for a person. Hospital board, I had the resource utilization committee meeting and one board meeting. TRC and environment committee was canceled. And for the longest time, I've wanted to write an article for Municipal World because I continually read articles by CAOs and former mayors talking about what it's all about to be a council member. So I decided it was time that somebody who is a counselor wrote about what it's like to be a council member. So, and that was accepted. That article was accepted and it will be in September edition. So something I quite enjoyed doing.
Thank you. Should I look forward to reading it or should I worry?
I don't know. It's all very nice. Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Timpson. Councillor Howie.
Not much to report. I was away for the past Cedar Bay meeting. I do see the one has been moved now to the 29th. Additionally to that, I did resign from the Sioux Fire Service as well since then. So that's it for me.
Thank you. I've had, it seems like a busy month with KDSB board meeting and other governance committee meetings. The municipal emergency management control group meetings, and in addition, our meeting with EMO. Various interviews related to the flood from Thunder Bay, Radio Canada, the Bulletin, TBT, TV, Nation, First Nations magazine, and CBC. Health unit board meetings and strat plan meetings. The Alpha conference was yesterday. NOMA, attended the NOMA learning morning. I'm not sure if anybody else did. One session was on broadband and the other was on the food cycler. Councillor Timpson, Councillor Cassidy, that I think the Environment Committee had presented on. EMO Health Task Force have had two meetings, one this afternoon, which was very interesting. I was able to give good input on long-term care and funding for DSABs. Our Policing Cost Coalition attended two meetings, although there have been more. The CAO has continued to go to those. Sacred Heart grad video I prepared with the help of municipal staff. A video taking council greetings and congratulations to Sacred Heart grads. OHT team meetings, two meetings of that. Attended the Gay Pride flag raising and the restart of the GSA club at the high school. Attended the Seniors Activity Center for the proclamation of Seniors Month and cake cutting. Police Services Board meetings with Fresh Market and the LCBO, and various meetings with constituents. And now we all have to go to retraining for in-person meetings. Now, when does that start? How do we do this in person? It'll be different. And so I don't think this is our last Zoom meeting by any means. I think the technology is here for virtual meetings, but it's next month we will be meeting in person as a council. Councillor Timpson.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's one of the things I put in my article. If you want to keep council members who have jobs and other lives, you know, sticking with council, we need to look at more virtual participation than we have now, because it's no wonder people don't want to be on council with the amount of time they have to spend running the meetings. That was something I put in the article. The second thing is, I really like the way you have conducted these meetings where you go around in a circle. So people know they're going to get the chance to speak. So it's not this feeling of you're in a contest of putting your hand up and being seen. You know that your turn will come. So I'm hoping that we can continue that mode when we go back in person.
We'll get the carpenter up there and get those tables into a circle instead of the. Thanks, Councillor Timpson. Yeah, I in the end, if you'd asked me 3 years ago, I would have said poo-poo to virtual meetings. But I do have to ask staff, did we ever get a good screenshot for this is our, the pictures on the wall of councils, and they're all, this should be our council picture, the screenshot of us meeting virtually.
I have looked at that, and yes, I believe there will be a way for us to capture a screenshot. Yes.
Great, because I think that should go into the records, that's the way I think. After all this time, I mean, I'll remember all of you for all the good things you've done, but I'll remember this council for the virtual meetings for sure. All right. Well, that's it, folks. We have a confirmatory bylaw number 41-22 to confirm the proceedings of the Council of Sioux June 15th, regular council meeting. We read a first, second, third time and passed. Moved by Councillor Timpson, seconded by Councillor Fallon. All in favor? Carried. And we click off this meeting to see each other sometime in mid-July. Thanks, everybody.